All right, everybody, welcome in. I am Pugs Moran, live from the south side of Chicago in the beautiful Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here on the RadioMisfits.com podcast platform. Happy June 1st to you. Happy first day of June. Boy, oh boy, weather is broken here. Well, kind of here. We do the show from the south side of Chicago. We had a great weekend. And now it seems a little cold again because my sinuses are starting to be weird. It was nice. My body had regulated to whatever the climate is here, and now it's going crazy. It's 64. It's 64 degrees. Oh my God! It should be like 78. Should be it's 12 o'clock. Actually, it should be like 80. It should be 80 now. All right. Well, hey, I hope my mom's okay. My mom's the one who's really having the bad reaction to this seasonal allergy thing, and it won't go away. I was great yesterday and Saturday. I was totally cleared up, and now I can feel it again. Anyway, I hope you're doing better than me. We're going to muscle through today's show. We're going to cover a whole myriad of topics. We'll touch on some national things. We got two local stories, one for us here in Chicago that we're going to dive into. It's about politicals, and it's about egos, and it's about NFL football. That's right. We're going to talk about the Bears Stadium situation. Not, obviously it's a story of great local importance, but also it is about the whole issue of what are our tax dollars supposed to go to? We're gonna look at that from both the perspective of the people in Illinois who are saying our tax dollars are not going to go to build toys for billionaires, and the people in Indiana who I don't even think they know what's going on. I don't think the people in Indiana know what their legislature is promising, but that's okay. So we'll talk about that. And then also for my second home down there in North Texas, today begins jury selection in the Karmelo Anthony trial. Karmelo Anthony is not the basketball player, kid up there in Frisco who stabbed Austin Meadows in the chest, killing Austin Meadows, two 16, 17-year-old kids. It's happened a couple of years ago. We're going to refamiliarize ourselves with that story, and we're going to talk. It should start, from what I've learned, it's expected to begin opening statements on Thursday. Jury deliberation starts today, so let's get all caught up on that so we know, because I'm going to be covering that. That is a hot story, man. Good Lord. If you've got really bad sort of reflexive views on certain things, this story is going to trigger you, and it's just a real troubling story. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to cover it as the trial progresses. It's expected to be 2 weeks. You never know. It's usually never less than that, but maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. Jury selection starts today in the Karmelo Anthony trial. Excuse me. So we'll talk about that. Another thing I want to get into today is the FCC. I love the FCC. I worked in broadcast radio for about 30 years, starting in 1992, talk show host in multiple major American cities. The FCC, never been fined by them. I have always been able to dance that line just perfectly, right? So, but I've always been, obviously, for for professional reasons, very in tune with what the FCC is doing. And I am, believe it or not, a supporter of the FCC. I think that there is a lane for that. We're going to talk about what the FCC is doing now. The FCC has added a new television rating, the television rating systems. FCC is now going to warn you when there's trans content about to be shown on your favorite TV. People don't like that. Other people are like, whatever, nobody reads that shit anyway. So we'll talk about that. Maddie's going to join us today because apparently there is a story that has been happening all weekend in New Jersey. And Maddie, who's a very good friend of mine, she sends me texts all the time. Maddie has been involved in this story all weekend long. And now, granted, I've been watching baseball. Oh, God, Mooney got hurt. Oh, our Japanese sensation got hurt. But I also, I pay attention to the news and stuff. This is not a story that seems to be being covered anywhere other than MSNBC. And that is the story of the New Jersey immigrant detention riots. You see video from there and it's insane. And then you look at the news. Every other news platform, it's not even mentioned. They're like, yeah, we're not covering that. So she's going to tell us what's happening in New Jersey. And then I'm going to take, the media perspective on it. I'm like, what's going on here? Why is only one area of media covering this like it's the biggest story in America? And everybody else is like, did you see what Trump tweeted? That's crazy. Anyway, we'll talk about that with Maddie. She's going to join us today. A whole bunch of stuff we got going on today. And we'll do, Can't Be Fun at the Old Ballpark in 3 videos, and it's going to be a fun show. But first, I want to award the platform. That's right. Every day to start the show, I like to reward first place, second place, and third place. Just like Formula One racing, we call it the platform. Podium. Call it the podium. Why did I say platform? I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Let's see here. Who's first in? Well, look at this. Oh, no stranger. April, Peter, and Barney. That's our platform. Maddie was first. But Maddie's going to be a guest today. She's, I was expecting her to be here. So thank you to our podium, the first 3 in. Again, today's podium. April, Peter, and Barney. We do need to throw a little bit of love and some flowers at Peter's feet just before we get started, because Peter is our executive producer of today's show. That's right. Today's show is brought to you by Peter. Peter's like on vacation, and he dropped a little thing on Friday. And I tell you guys, this is street corner stuff. At this point, we've not been able to really grow the show, so it exists because you guys make donations. And this weekend I was short, and Peter came through with a little bit of a drop. And thank you, Peter. I appreciate that, man. That's how I'm able to continue doing these shows. Gas prices $4.79, and apparently, if you believe the headlines, they're going to shoot back up. No, hey, $4.79, $4.79. Roberts Road and 95th Street. That's what I'm using as the national gas gauge. Whatever it is at 95th Street and Roberts Road when I get off 294. So thank you to Peter. And if you would like to be tomorrow's executive producer, we are in a soft pledge week opening. I've been trying to get, so all the bills should be paid on June 1st, but we don't even start anymore shaking the can until they start calling. So anyway, soft opening on pledge week. Please drop a little something if you can. Get us started. Peter is our executive producer. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You can do a little bit if you want to drop in Venmo or Cash App today. Thank you, folks. Okay, what else do we want to talk about here? A couple of right off the top. Oh, my God. Is Adam in the chat room yet? I owe Adam an apology. I got yelled at by a friend of mine, and I was completely wrong about something. There he is. Adam's there. Hola to you, Adam. And you know what? Here's the thing. I guess Rob Barr wasn't in the chat room because he would have known the truth. And I guess that Andy Darren, my buddy Andy, who's one of the foremost music aficionados here in Illinois, he specializes in Chicago history, music, and all that. Andy Darren, record shop owner, writer, music writer, all that stuff, podcast or whatever. I don't know. I love Andy. But Andy's another one that probably could have set me straight on this. Adam Reyna on Friday was absolutely right about Riot Fest, and I was completely wrong. But as is usually the case when I'm so stridently wrong about something, I truly didn't believe I was wrong, so I wasn't lying, which is where I think the defense mechanism always comes in, because when people nitpick you, which is what Adam does, and he wasn't necessarily nitpicking in this case. Here's the deal. Adam, I was talking about the Riot Fest thing, and I was sort of opining about the early days of like the 90s Wicker Park scene and all that stuff, and how that sort of scene in that area arose. And there were a number of really cool short-lived festivals, right? And all the same people are involved in them. Not necessarily the case of Riot Fest. Like Riot Mike, the guy who started Riot Fest, he's actually a pretty young dude. He wasn't in that early 90s scene. But he is the guy that in 2000, Adam was absolutely right. Riot Fest, as we know it, the name Riot Fest had never been used, and it was never officially a thing until 2005. I was wrong. I was just allowing disparate memories of different things to, form a complete chain. And I'm like, oh, Riot Fest has been around forever. No, it hasn't. Adam was right. I was wrong. I apologize. Although just, as I say, when I'm wrong like that, when I'm wrong, I'll always be willing to apologize when I learn the facts, right? Okay, I'm not going to dig in. I'm not like some asshole. But also, I don't feel bad about why I was wrong because I'm old and I've got a lot of memories. And sometimes, so thank you, Adam. And thank you also for allowing me that moment to be triggered on Friday, because that's what we do around here. None of us take it personally. I forget about it immediately. You know who doesn't? The women in my life. That's why I'm divorced twice. I'm like, wait, I got over that. You didn't get over that? That's right. Welcome to my world. Anyway, so all right, so I was wrong about that. So thank you, Adam, for helping me there with the Riot Fest thing. I do want to talk about it's June 1st, which means it's Pride Month. Let's get started with some talk about Pride Month. Look at me. Maybe I was nice to Adam now because he's gonna get so mad at me. Yeah, Adam, I just know that Adam's gonna be like, "Oh, here we go. He hates gays," which is like a complete misinterpretation, totally out of context thing. I hate gays. What has that ever been a label that I hate gays? Anyway, I'd be a great gay. Okay, one. I entirely believe that it's not a choice because I don't think I could choose to be gay. I'm a heterosexual guy. I like girls. The blood flows with certain triggers, right? All right. So anyway, so it's not like it's a choice and they're making non-biblical. It's not that. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I got a lot of gay friends. Anyway, I work in entertainment. My God. Yeah. But here's the thing. I feel the same way about Pride Month as I feel about a lot of these celebrations, commemorations, or, romanticizing things that we shouldn't be proud of, things that we've overcome and we've acknowledged that we've overcome the way things used to be. In every year when we say, remember how awful people were to us. I mean, it just seems like unnecessarily triggery to people who might feel guilty about the way they once thought. Look at that. Did I catch it? I think I caught it right away. Are we back? Because we just had one of them flare-ups where the whole show disappeared. Okay. All right, I think we're back. All right, now let's get into it. Wait, I need some water. So, like with gay pride, well, I mean, man, see, like, how do I choose my words here? I do not see gay people in modern the world globally, unless, you want to go to like the absolute worst examples of Africa or some third world nation or some Muslim country. Okay, those are real problems. So let's focus on that. But the idea that like in America that we're still like, don't hire him, he's gay. I understand it more with people of color because that's, someone comes in and they look for a job and you're a black person, you look at them and you're like, I don't hire black people. I get that. But gays, that's, what you do in your bedroom, that shouldn't be any concern to any of us. And how do people know that you're like, how do people know you're being gay unless you're like openly sharing your, I just don't get it. I don't feel that gay people in 2026 are in any way, shape, or form a persecuted class in this country. And these gay pride things where everything, the Chicago Bears put out a Chicago Bears logo with a rainbow on it. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I'm not triggered by it. I'm fine. I get it. It's the corporate game. But why? Why? Because there are idiots out there that you're just going to stir up unnecessarily. I don't believe that there is anybody that has a problem with gay people in America anymore, any more so than I think people have a problem with redheads or Cub fans. Maybe your stupid uncle who lives in a cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere has a problem with gay people. But in general society, I don't think that's a problem anymore. And I certainly don't think it's needing in 2026 of like, have your parties in the gay neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. But this idea that it just needs to be promoted. See, they're just like us. Isn't that insulting? Of course they're just like us. They've always been just like us. Why are we? I'm so happy to be gay in June. Are you still in the closet? I gotta believe that, like, not a lot of like 35-year-old gay men are still in the are there? Where maybe in small towns, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for people feeling pride in what they are. But yeah, I'm Irish, right? St. Patrick's Day. I got no problem with that. Although people tell me I should. It's appropriation. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's good appropriation. It's good for the Irish brand. I don't know. All right, chat room. All right, let's see here. Okay. All right, because this is how we'll get into real talk about this. I'll respond to you guys instead of just sort of ham-fistedly going, why are we still celebrating gays? Maddie says, Pugs, just because it's not your experience doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. That's my whole point. It exists. Why are we pretending like, this is the month where they get to be proud that they exist? You are patronizing them. You're that is so patronizing. Of course they exist. What? It's not. Now, I understand this. I mean, the origins come out of the Stonewall riots from 1969. And this was in a time when police, and this is also something, this was at a time when police were cracking down on gay clubs. They were going in and they were busting heads. But that's not all police in 1969 were doing. They were also going into black clubs, and they were going into cops were out of control. That's the overarching problem. But specifically, yes, the Stonewall riots, Christopher Street there, Greenwich Village in New York City. That's where it started. They refused to disperse. It had always been the case when police show up to a gay club and tell everybody to leave because, I don't know, I guess it was illegal then. It's not illegal now. It's all been fine for years. And the original parades there in the village were about, hey, we exist, as Maddie is saying. That was 1970, 1971, probably even all the way up through 2000. But for the last 25 years, it isn't like a big surprise that somebody is gay. I don't think it is. Is that my experience? Do I just spend time around everybody? And I see this as unnecessary. Unnecessary, but again, I'm not the guy sitting here going, oh, we need to ban it because gay's bad. I don't think gay is bad. I don't think we need to ban it. I just think that if I was in charge of the brand gay, I'd be like, yeah, we should dial back on this stuff a little bit. I think it's unnecessarily bad for our image, one, because it reinforces all of the flamboyant shit that people who are still left that don't like us, and I don't think there's a lot of them, but it reinforces all of these things unnecessarily. I don't know, have a party. You can have a party. Go ahead, have your parade. You can have a parade in gay neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know that the NFL and Major League Baseball, all of these things need to be involved in it. It's unnecessary. All right. Let's see. Let's keep going. I knew I'd trigger some people. Hold on. Is there nobody that even gets what I'm saying? Because I have to tell you that April and Adam, as expected, are dominating the chat here. All right, here's Adam. Adam says, I get it, Maddie. It's steps. I know I'm not perfect, but all I ever try to do is support and uplift those. Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck. He actually typed that about himself. Oh, my God. I know I'm not perfect, but all I ever try to do is support and uplift those who need it. And I use their guidance capital. He's an ally. Okay, those are all wonderful things. Keep them to your fucking self, because when you say them, people get triggered. And if you don't recognize that this kind of it's what people are so fucking sick of. Moral grandstanding. Just do it in your regular life. Capital. I use their guidance. Capital their. See, look at that. I was apologizing to Adam just a couple of minutes ago. I'm not even addressing the greater issue of whether or not we accept gays. We do. That's not it. What I'm saying is this is unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It triggers people, and I'm just pointing out why it triggers people. Because right now, if you look at social media, a whole bunch of people very upset about NFL teams sticking rainbows on their helmets. Those people are fucking idiots too. But you don't need to poke the idiots. This is just unnecessary in 2026. It's Gay Pride Month. They're just like us. Yeah, we know. We know. Nobody's questioning that. April says, still very much a problem. I think she's talking about homophobia. Is it? Name an industry where a gay man isn't at the top. Seriously, name me an industry where a gay man isn't at the top. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. You can't say that for any other group that says they're oppressed. You can say that about gay men, gay women. It doesn't matter. Nothing stops them from rising to the top, and they don't have kids distracting them. So, let's see here. All right. Anybody else say anything? All right, Moriel, we'll let everybody. I want to make sure that I respond to everybody. Adam says, but this is what I mean. Pugs doesn't have the hatred in his heart and feels everyone should feel like that. They shouldn't. Yes, but doesn't mean it's still not an issue. It sadly still is. All right, that's a fairly compromising comment from Adam. And, you probably take it all back after my rant there where I made fun of his I'm an ally little screed. But it's about common sense for me. It's not about hatred. You people are all about the hatred and why are they hating us? And then there are people who are like, I hate fags. That's different from what I'm talking about. I'm just using common sense here going, I don't think that mainstream suburban America at Target needs to be reminded that gay people have been mainstreamed successfully at every turn. I don't understand the celebration. I don't. The last one that I could really say, okay, we can celebrate that is female president. That's the last one. Let's do that one. Instead of just patting ourselves on the back on all these other issues, because you can brand them and you can get corporate sponsors. Because if the corporations don't sponsor it, then they'll put out a tweet that says that this company didn't sponsor it, and that'll be bad. I don't know, man. It all just seems like such a fucking work. The industry, the pride industry that capitalizes on this month every year. It's huge. We in this country find ways to make money off of everything, and pretending that the impression of the LGBTQ community is still a thing is big fucking money. There's your bottom line. Maddie. Get Maddie in here. Maddie says, no, I'm saying the issue people have with gays. You're saying it doesn't exist anymore in 2026. Yeah, I guess I am. I got to the extent that it's a problem that we need we need an entire month dedicated to it. Yeah, we'll just disagree on that. I mean, but again, we come from two completely different places. You're in a rural community. Maybe that's your universe here. I don't know. All right. Let's see here. Didn't expect it to be this. I'm saying because it's not your experience, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There's our disconnect. Nobody is saying homosexuality doesn't exist. And I'm arguing that everybody, of course you can't say everybody, the vast majority of people have changed over the last 20 years or so. That's all I'm saying. And I think that real progress has been made to the point where they can stop with the June nonsense that just triggers a whole bunch of our worst people. Our worst people get triggered by this. I'm standing here in the middle going, hey guys, do you really need to do that? I mean, come on, Bubba, can you not pay attention to it? But you people are still saying that it's an issue, and that's what we're seeing, right? Because Adam and Maddie are defending these people. They still need it, and that's just where our disconnect is. I'm like, what? They don't need anything. Gay people are killing it globally. We've got gay world leaders all over the place. Nobody fucking cares. But there's money in pretending that it's still a problem. All right. Mikey D. It's April. Here we go. April says, wait, hold on. Somebody. I don't want to, well, yeah, this is very true. Thank you, Barney. I don't know if you said this before or after I said it, but pride is an industry now, all to itself. Just like, the homeless problem, okay? The homeless problem, specifically in California, which for some reason this morning I'm way up on because of this stupid Spencer Pratt thing. But, one of the reasons that Los Angeles and California in general have the homeless problem that they have is, well, first of all, it's California. And everybody with a broken head thinks they can fulfill their dreams by heading to La La Land. So that's one draw. But also because they have so much tax dollars available to confront the homeless problem that an entire industry has grown around it. If you stop the industry itself in California, the ways that people have concocted to make money off of the state funds for the homeless problem is unbelievable. It does nothing. This industry doesn't want to fix the problem. The industry wants to prolong the problem so that they can get another budget refill next year. This is, and now I'm not saying that, so you're saying we shouldn't give our tax dollars? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have problems when we have this money in the way our elected officials are addressing it. There's an entire industry, the whole homeless thing there in California. Same with Pride. There are year-round offices in major communities that do nothing but plan the next year's festivities. And maybe it's a part-time gig. I don't know. Maybe it's a board of directors of a bunch of, people who are highly connected in the maybe. I don't know. But there does appear to be a bit of a reason to keep up the whole facade that, gay people in America are still downtrodden. All right. Now she's screaming. She says, I'm saying homophobia. Of course it does. Now, of course homophobia exists. Now, again, our disconnect. Nowhere near the extent that it existed when we probably could have used these pride parades. That's the disconnect. You're saying that it's still a major problem, and I'm saying it's not a problem at all. In fact, people are choosing to come out as gay because it's better for their career. Yeah. Well, okay, I don't know that for a fact. Well, I've got a friend. We know somebody who is suddenly gay, and we're like, is it because his boss is gay? And we're like, maybe. It might be because his boss is gay, but anyway, good for the business. Okay, I'm not getting it. I think I am. I'm getting that there is a disconnect. What I'm not getting is your particular way of looking at this. Okay, we get each other. I get it. Your frustration with not being able to change my mind is why you're using all caps. I mean, there's a disconnect. You think that not a homo. Yeah, you think that homophobia is still a big problem. So big that we need 1 month a year to have these parades, and every major corporation in America has to get them. That's what you believe. And the entire point of this is that is no longer the case, and that this is just an industry now, and that it's unnecessarily triggering a whole bunch of stupid people who are now all over social media ranting and raving about how their football team shouldn't have anything to do with rainbows. That's all. Just taking a 30,000 foot perspective on this. Common sense. See what common sense looks like? You don't need to do it anymore. Now, here's what they should do. Here's what the gays should do. They should flip this month to like anti-Semitism month. That might be something that we could all get behind and pay attention to this month particularly. They don't do that though. Seriously, there are real problems. There are real issues. These people, Maddie's going to be on later. She's going to be talking about an issue. She's going to try and convince us that it's a big issue. I think she might be right. But the question is, why is nobody else covering the deal happening in New Jersey? She's going to explain that to us. I would ask her, is that a bigger deal than homophobia in America? In major cities? Because that's where these are, right? Major cities where nobody cares. I know the Chicago Gay Pride Parade, massive. So is Dallas. But doesn't Dallas have theirs in the gayborhood? I think Chicago has theirs in Boys Town. Yeah, that's what we call it, Boys Town. You would think they'd resist that. You'd think they'd be like, it's more than just boys, but no, they've embraced the title of Boys Town. Trans, lesbians, they all right. Happy Gay Pride to you if it's something that you celebrate, but I just think that it's an unnecessary thing now. And I think that I think that there's probably a lot of gay people that totally agree with me. They're probably like, yeah, it is. I don't feel like I need to hide anymore. But what about that teen in Tuscaloosa? Well, that's a Tuscaloosa problem. Because I'll tell you, there's a whole bunch of gay teens in Naperville that don't seem to have any issue with being gay teens in Naperville. When do you think it changed? I'll tell you this. I always mark somewhere between, it's the Ellen DeGeneres scale, right? So anti-gay, well, not anti-gay, but the anti-mainstreaming of gay. The first real pushback of, oh, hold on now, these gays are getting a little bit too comfortable on the TV. That began with the cancellation of Ellen DeGeneres' show. I think that's around 1998. Now, understand how far we came in such a short period of time. Probably because most people in America, once the issue was brought up and people were talking about it, were like, yeah, actually, my kid's gay. Yeah, I got a gay nephew. Yeah, my uncle who never married, turned out he was gay. Like, that's sort of started to happen. And that conversation really became a reality when Ellen DeGeneres was kicked off ABC TV. Now, where does it end? When Ellen DeGeneres became the most beloved character person on television with the Ellen DeGeneres TV show. So whatever that was, when did the Ellen DeGeneres daytime TV show? Remember, she wasn't good enough to be on TV because of her sexual proclivities. ABC television in 1998 canceled it because of the backlash over Ellen coming out as gay. Her career was over for a couple of years, and then she became the most beloved person on TV. She is now, because everything is a pendulum, as I try to explain every day, she is now the most hated person again, but for completely different reasons, having nothing to do with the fact that she's gay. That's it. Whatever that window is, from the time that Ellen got kicked off TV to the time that she went to #1 in daytime, whatever that is, that's where it all changed. America spoke. They didn't give a shit about it. But maybe there was also an industry where money was being made. And I'm sure there is, the Christian right and all of that stuff. There was probably an industry of, being very vocally against it. I don't think that industry is really around anymore. That industry is gone, and now we have the gay pride industry. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's where it all changed. Things, apparently, not everything is an oil tanker. Some things are jet skis. And the issue of whether or not Americans really gave a shit if somebody was gay or not changed between the time period where Ellen DeGeneres was kicked off TV and then re-embraced as the #1 most beloved daytime personality. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Mike, I want more people. Mike says, I used to hang out with a girl who had a gay brother who died of AIDS. She went to the big pride party each year in Atlanta, but did not feel an entire month needed to be dedicated to it. All right. And again, anecdotal, just like mine is. I'm not speaking for any great group of people. All I can do is speak for myself. There are things. There are things from the plight of the LGBTQ community. Was there another letter? No, I don't know. Here in America, that are very serious and probably should not be forgotten. The Stonewall riots where they stood up for themselves and said, we cannot be, but that's very important. The AIDS crisis of the 80s, the way the government of the United States purposefully turned a blind eye until it was too late, simply because it affected specifically a portion of the portion of the country that they didn't much care for. That was a real crime. That was a real horrible thing that we did in America, the AIDS crisis. Right? That's not overstated. That's a very real. I know people are like, oh, whatever. No, we purposefully ignored something that was a real problem because it affected gay men. Those are real things. But man, I don't know. Ever since then, it's like I said, you can't point to an industry where there isn't a gay man or a lesbian at the very top of it. Even in politics now. I don't know. In America, we got some gay. We got gays. We got gays, right? They're all on the left, probably. We got any gay guys on the right in our Congress? America's a little behind. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about this, I think America is a little bit behind even on the gay thing, probably because of our great unwashed middle. We flyovers. Yeah, I consider myself part of it. We're the great unwashed in the middle. Didn't intend to spend this much time on the pride. This was just my opening statement, but okay, here we are. All right, let's go. Let's see what's happening in Iran. Really bad shit. The ceasefire is completely on fire. They're attacking Well, hold on. Let me give you what is the latest here from Iran. Actually, no, I'll just do what I've been doing, which is I'll read you a collection of headlines concerning the situation in Iran. And if there is any of these that you are needing more information on, plenty of places that are going to break this down for you. But Iran is now threatening openly Israel. Okay. Hey, Israel, right? So that's bad. Remember, ceasefire, whatever. Not good. There was never a ceasefire, guys. Can we stop pretending that there was ever a ceasefire? We continually fought. We were the ones doing all the firing. All we did was we stopped firing, and that was the ceasefire. Iran threatens new strikes on Israel. Ceasefire collapses. Oil prices surge. U.S. bases on alert. All right. So here we are. Gas prices, man. Gas is killing me, you guys. Gas is absolutely killing me. Ebola, let's talk about this. Let's get all of these national stories or global stories, if you will, out of the way. Ebola, really bad. Africa CDC now says over 1,100 suspected Ebola cases are in the Dominican Republic, the Congo, and Uganda. That's more than 40 like 2 weeks ago. It was like, yeah, there's 40. And then people from the villages, one of these quarantined Ebola camps, people from the villages, and I don't even know, I'm saying villages. What am I picturing? I'm picturing like Gunga Din on Safari. Well, he's Indian. That wouldn't even be. Every time I see like a depiction of Kenya or Uganda, I'm like, oh, they got condos? I thought that they just lived in huts. I don't know. Anyway, they had one of these quarantine camps, and then everybody from the surrounding area who didn't want an Ebola camp outside town, they like burned it. They burned it to the ground, and all the Ebola people inside, they fled. And now that was just one camp, and the bad news is that there's more camps. But now the CDC in Africa is saying that there's over 1,100 suspected Ebola cases, and almost half of them are currently unaccounted for. What? Hey, perfect time for the World Cup, huh? Perfect time. Let's go. Let's let them all in. I told you this, I told you this last week. We got to show, we can't, I don't know what we're going to do about this World Cup, you guys. We can't just be letting people in from all over the world. We got this Ebola situation happening. And we also, well, I mean, can we? I mean, is it racist if we go nobody from Africa? Is that racist, or is that's where the Ebola is? All right. All right. Now let's talk about this one here right at the start. This is, we're going to cover this over the next couple of weeks. I not love, but I'm intrigued, and I follow closely some of the more high profile legal situations, trials, famously covered from start to finish, the entire Diddy trial. Available on. Nobody's got available on. Yeah, go back and listen to that on Radio Misfits. My coverage of the Diddy trial last summer. It's not evergreen. Who the fuck is going to listen to 3 years from now, episode 5? I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about the murder of Austin Metcalf. Did I call him Austin Meadows earlier? Why? Oh my God. If I did, I am so sorry. Because I know somebody named Austin Meadows, and I've done it before where I've mentioned Austin Metcalf and called him Austin Meadows. And so I apologize for that. Anyway, the murder trial of Austin Metcalf, or the murder of Austin Metcalf, the trial of Karmelo Anthony begins today. Here, let me give you the info. Jury selection is scheduled to take place. Well, it has. It's already started taking place today, Monday, June 1st. At the Collin County Courthouse up there in McKinney. Opening statements are expected to begin Thursday, June 4th, assuming the jury panel is successfully seated and sworn in by that time. The murder trial of Karmelo Anthony is anticipated to last approximately 2 weeks. Okay. So do we know this story? Maybe we don't. Maybe some of my new friends here in Chicago, you aren't familiar with it. So here, let me give you what would be the facts? This is okay. I don't want to be relying on AI, but just for the purpose of generally getting the facts out before we talk about what this trial is going to be, let's just do that. Okay, so let's see what are the facts in the Karmelo Anthony trial as it concerns the murder of Austin Metcalf. All right, let's see what this is. What are we using here? This one is Google. This is going to be Google's AI. Okay. So here's what we're talking about. The first-degree murder trial of Karmelo Anthony for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf officially begins today. The core factual background, evidence, and legal arguments surrounding the high-profile case include all right. Tell you what we know. So there was this like multi-school track function. I'm not sure if it was a meet, but there were a whole bunch of different high schools that their track teams gathered together in Frisco for this event. Now, while we were waiting for the events or whatever, I guess in the stands there, they have all the individual teams have a little tent. I don't know if you've ever seen in the stands where they put up, like the thing to block the sun or whatever. It's a nice little tented area, portable, So each school's track team had like their own little tent area. Now, Karmelo Anthony was apparently sitting in the area of Austin Metcalf's school. Austin Metcalf represented one school, Karmelo Anthony another. Karmelo Anthony was sitting where he didn't belong. This apparently started a fracas between Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. According to Austin Metcalf, walked up to Karmelo Anthony, who was not seated where he was supposed to, and basically tried to remove him. Told him, now we don't know. This is where, was it, hey man, hey, you know what? This is we need these seats. This is for us. Can you move? Or was it, the fuck you doing here, right? And I know that that's not ultimately important, and we'll get to that, but I do think that it is kind of, it's all context. That's all. Just how you feel about it, how passionate you are about just. So a fight started when Karmelo Anthony was asked to move. This fight resulted in him grabbing a knife from his backpack and plunging it into the chest of Austin Metcalf, who died at the scene, right in front of his twin brother. Apparently his twin brother was with him, standing with him, to the extent that when he was stabbed, he collapsed into the arms of his brother. Very sad context. So anyway, Karmelo Anthony is arrested, quite obviously, for this murder. Black guy, white guy, right? Let's address that. Karmelo Anthony is a black kid who plunged a knife into the chest of a white kid there in Frisco. So there's that whole thing. All right, let's get more to the details. That's what we know. The date and location. The altercation occurred on April 2nd, 2025 during a multi-school track and field championship at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco. Been there many times, Kuykendall. Seating dispute. Austin Metcalf. He is the victim here. Austin Metcalf, a 17-year-old student athlete from Frisco Memorial High School, confronted Karmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old student from Frisco Centennial High School. Man, there's so many schools in Frisco. I think there's I want to say a number, but it's such an absurd number for one suburb to have that many high schools. I think it's 15. I think they got 15 high schools in Frisco. How many high schools are there in Frisco, Texas? 12. There are 12. Frisco, one suburb, has 12. We thought my suburb growing up, Tinley Park, was baller. We had 2. We had an old one and a new one. 12. There are 12 public high schools in the Frisco Independent School District, which serve the majority of the city. Wow. Okay. So here are the 12. Centennial, Emerson, Frisco, Heritage, Independence, Lebanon Trail, Liberty High School, Lone Star, Memorial. Jeez. Panther Creek, Reedy, and Wakeland. Wow. That's crazy. See, there's everything in Texas. Like Texas itself, Texas should be 4 states, right? Frisco should be 5 suburbs. Plano should be 5 suburbs. I don't mean to make light of this because this is it's oh God, such an ugly situation. According to police arrest records and eyewitnesses, Karmelo Anthony, refused to leave, reached into his backpack and told Metcalf, touch me and see what happens. When Metcalf physically pushed or grabbed Anthony to move him out of the tent area, Anthony pulled a knife from his bag and stabbed Metcalf once in the chest. The fatal outcome. Metcalf died from the single stab wound. Anthony fled the immediate scene, but was apprehended by police shortly after. Investigators later recovered a bloody knife in the stadium bleachers. A confession. Okay, so according to police arrest reports, while being detained at the scene, Karmelo Anthony overheard an officer refer to him as the alleged suspect and responded, I'm not alleged, I did it. Young man bravado, young man Gen Z, clickbait bravado. From his initial arrest, Anthony maintained that his actions were defensive, crying to officers, he put his hands on me. I told him not to and asked if it could be considered self-defense. He asked police. His defense attorney, Mike Howard, is expected to heavily leverage Texas's stand your ground laws during the trial. See, now this is one of the reasons why this is going to be so interesting to see. Because this Mike Howard guy, he's no fool. He's a pretty high profile Dallas criminal defense attorney. He's had some big cases and, he's known to be fairly clever. He is going to directly challenge the stand your ground defense. If you feel like if he had a gun, if it was white kid on black, all I'm saying is there are all kinds of moving parts here that are going to be endlessly argued over the course of the next couple of weeks. This black kid says that he was ganged up on. Again, what he says and what his side is. He was sitting in the wrong spot. They came hard. He was ganged up on. He felt like he was in trouble, and he reacted defensively by pulling a knife out of a backpack and killing one of the... I don't think that's proportionate, right? I mean, obviously, this is a problem. This kid is prone to overly aggressive, violent solutions. I'm sure this is the kind of thing that we'll hear as people dissect this. Is this another example of generational confusion about how to behave when you're... This is how you react in a video game? In video game, you get shot. I'm going to stab them. If you've been playing Grand Theft Auto or whatever these games are since you're 5 years old, maybe you're just reflexively wired to confuse reality with this world you exist in most of the time. I don't know. I'm sure that'll be discussed. But holy shit, just from the 30,000-foot view, a kid got stabbed in the chest for telling another kid to leave a section he wasn't supposed to be in. It seems to be the common sense way this should have ended was that Karmelo Anthony should have been, all right, yeah, I am in the wrong spot, and move. But ego and narcissism and who you talking to, boy, and all of that, the world that has been created for these young people from decades of living on social media chat where nothing goes unclaimed. Every little aggression. Fuck you, yeah? You think you're tough? Because there is no consequences in this world. I don't know, man. I just think that this situation, and it's why I'm so fascinated by it, was because it is such an inscrutable reaction to anybody who's normal. Anybody who is normal, you don't think, oh, these two guys are pushing me out of this section? Okay, man, all right, yeah, fuck you. And you talk shit as you're walking away. That is how this is usually handled, especially in Frisco, Texas, man. This isn't gang beef between Bloods and Crips on the south side of Chicago. Okay, these are kids from an advantaged lifestyle. That's what Frisco is. I don't care if you can be poor in Frisco. You're still poor in Frisco. It's better than being poor in Oak Cliff. That's why it's shocking how this reaction. Prosecutors possess stadium footage that captures the burst of action from a distance and shows Anthony running away from the tent following the stabbing. Sources close to law enforcement's investigation revealed that Anthony had previously faced a school suspension for bringing a knife to school and was allegedly skipping his scheduled classes on the day of the track meet. All right, so now we're getting into, the two different kinds of kids. The black kid who stabbed the kid in the chest. Oh, he's got a criminal record and he brought a knife to school. What do you bring? Again, Frisco. Why are you bringing a knife to school in Frisco? I know a guy who's got kids in the Frisco high school, and his kids are like little princesses. You're telling me you need to bring a knife to a school where these little princesses are matriculating? I don't think so. Terrible reaction. So again, going into it without hearing the arguments, and this Mike Howard guy, man, he might be able to, I might be like, okay, well, if that is the defense law, he's going to test this defense law. We're going to see if it applies here. Again, I wonder if it was two black guys, two twin brother black guys, and this was a white kid who pulled a gun, stand your ground. I don't know, What the law may ultimately decide may not be what's right, may not be what feels right or satisfying, but I don't know. This Mike Howard guy, he could get him off on this and then watch Frisco burn. Common sense tells me that this dude reacted in an incredibly violently aggressive way and should probably be put in jail for at least the next decade of his life before let's figure out what's going on with him. That's what common sense tells me. This reaction. But will they be able to take some of these Texas laws that have been criticized by other people and flip it to the defense of this black kid who stabbed a white kid in the chest? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Anyway, the trial is supposed to start with opening statements on Thursday. I'll be following it. We'll be covering it here, not exhaustively, like it's not, but anything that happens, like when I finish the shows, I'll be like, oh, I got to find out everything. So it'll be interesting because there are a lot of things. There are a lot of different things happening at once in this trial. There's a lot of feelings. Then there's some laws that are being applied that could, I would think unintentionally help the guy who we all think is a murderer. And we'll see how that plays out. Okay, again, jury selection began today. The actual trial with opening statements is expected to begin on Thursday. We're looking at probably 2 weeks, they say. 2 weeks. We'll be done by long before 4th of July. That's the hope anyway. All right, what else do we have to talk about here today? Let me see. Boom, boom. Yeah, I don't want to do this one yet. All right, so let's do... All right, yeah, let's do this. No, never mind. Maybe I shouldn't do this one either. I was thinking about whether or not I should talk about the FCC and their new labeling of trans programming, but it's a little bit too. I don't know. I want to talk to Maddie because I want to get into this New Jersey thing, and I'm certain, like at this moment, that Maddie's got me just maybe a little bit to the left of Charlie Kirk because of my reluctance to celebrate the achievements of gay men. Okay, so I'm assuming. So I don't want to do another story here. We will later today, though. We'll wait till we get Maddie in our rearview mirror, then we'll do the FCC now labeling trans. They label smoking, people. Let's not get all bent out of shape of whatever they think. Are there people who are upset by the imagery of chant? Yes, there are. There are people. Should we just say fuck those people and what they're triggered by, or do we have to be fair? Anyway, that's kind of what the argument is for the FCC trans thing. All right, we'll talk about that too. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Why is Mike still up there? I've had Mike up here forever. I am sorry, Mike. That's bad luck for me. Here's what we're going to do. Quick break. We're going to come back with Maddie. Maddie's been covering the situation going on at the ICE detention facility there in New Jersey. Apparently, it's a whole big thing. Like I said, I've been watching baseball and we had hijackings, and we're going to talk about the hijackings and the weird airplane stuff that's been happening over the weekend. Still got to talk about the Bears stadium issue, but again, I don't want to scare people away from that subject because it's not about, the Chicago Bears. This is about our taxpayer dollars and how we are ardently opposed to wasteful spending, except when it comes to something like our favorite team's new. Anyway, we'll talk about that whole situation and why it looks like the Chicago Bears are moving to Indiana. Celebrate it. I am. We'll do that. What else do we have? Oh, man, we've got 3 videos. We got 3 fun videos we'll break down, and we'll talk about the situations behind both of them. We'll also do Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. We got a full show coming for you. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get another cup of coffee. We'll have Maddie here. She's going to tell us about what's happening in New Jersey because I didn't see it. I mean, I saw it. I saw the story about what was happening in New Jersey enough to note I would think I should see this more. Like I saw the story being so passionately covered and then not passionately covered by everybody else. And I'm kind of curious about that. So she's going to come on, Maddie, of course. She's going to join us and she's going to explain what is happening. Got some video. She's like, you better have video. I'm like, I got video. So we're going to have some video. We'll watch that. Apparently it's a big deal. Why are we not being told about it? All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Maddie will be on the other side, and then all the other stuff we're going to do one more time. I want to remind you, today's show is brought to us by Peter. Thank you so much, Peter. Peter helping us out. It's sort of a soft opening for Pledge Week, not really pushing yet, but if you want, help out. Please, this show runs on your gratuities. Quick break back after this. Maddie's going to tell us why we need to care about the New Jersey Immigration Center situation. Protests. I'll tell you, the video, I'm like, this looks like a much bigger news story than we're being led on. Quick break, back after this. We're back. All righty then. Part 2 of today's show. Let's get Maddie on the phone. Maddie, here we go. Calling Maddie. Let's get her up here. What's on Maddie's mind today? Well, she's going to tell us about the New Jersey situation and probably yell at me for a whole bunch of other things.
Right. Hello. Happy Monday.
There she is. All right, Maddie. It's Maddie on a Monday. Now I'm sure you've been triggered enough by me today, so let's get into this. Let's not chase balls from the first quarter. I do. You were texting me a lot this weekend, and I'm glad that our relationship has gotten to the point now where you don't get all butthurt when I don't respond to texts, because I don't. I'm from the 80s, okay? I put my phone on a charger in another room, and I go and look at it every couple of hours. That's just how I live. But you've been covering a strike. No, you don't respect it. Shame me. Seriously, shame me, because I know that I need to change.
I'm here to tell people how to live their life. Like, that's not it.
But I think you well, okay. All right. So we all do to some extent. You have been texting me this weekend about what's happening in New Jersey, and I'm like, what? What is going on here in New Jersey? And
I was so surprised by that, by the way.
Yeah, and because I am fairly up on the news and all that. It was a big baseball weekend for me, so I was a bit more distracted than normal. Plus, I got my kid coming this weekend. We got a whole bunch of stuff we're doing around here. We got mom is on the mend, which we're very happy about with the kid coming. So a little bit like out of sorts this weekend, but there is a situation happening at an immigration facility there in New Jersey. New Jersey, interestingly enough, run by a Democrat, Mikey Sherrill. And I don't know what's happening here, but the videos are pretty dramatic. Explain to me what is happening in New Jersey and why you think we're not hearing about it anywhere else.
Really curious. Like I said, obviously it's been all over my feed, and I find it interesting too that you weren't even aware of the ramp up, because this has been going on for a week. And I think, again, it really illuminates how distractions work and effectively, because last week, what were the biggest topics that were kind of happening, especially in mainstream news? And everybody was super hyped up about the 250 and the musical acts that dropped out, and trash talking Martina McBride.
Right, that's fun stuff. That's the fun distraction stuff that they feed us, because we all know who Martina McBride is. We all have opinions on all these. What's difficult is the minutia of these immigration issues. So we are distracted by the things we understand, and unfortunately, that almost always has to do with entertainment stuff.
Yeah. So to provide a little bit of context, this started about a week ago, but got really ramped up towards the end of the week when protesters descended on Delaney Hall. So
now, who is Delaney Hall?
Okay, so Delaney Hall is an ICE detention center located in Newark, New Jersey. Okay, it is a privatized ICE detention center. So that means that it is a for-profit entity that is being contracted by the government to hold detainees while they were waiting for deportation. Okay, these are not convicted criminals. They are just people who are on the wrong side of immigration and documentation. Okay. About a week ago, Andy Kim, a representative from New Jersey, attempted to go in and do an inspection. We've seen these representatives talking about this, and some information had gotten to him that these detainees who are there, which at this current time is around 1,000 people, the detention center can house about 1,200, so they're almost at full capacity. And some family members had reached out because they had become aware through conversations that when they were trying to get in to visit their family members or, friends or detainees, that they were being mistreated. The mistreatment came in the form of food not being of a great nutritional value, but also being rancid, moldy. They were being fed moldy, moldy food, things like that. Also, healthcare had been very severely lacking. There were several pregnant women who were detained in this facility who had miscarriages. They did more investigation into this, found out that there was only one doctor who was in charge of the healthcare for over 1,000 people who were there. And also they found out that the facility was using them for forced labor.
Okay, so hold on. So let me just wrap. Because moving on to other things. So the issue here is that this is a for-profit immigration
detention
center, yeah. Right? It's just like we have private prisons. It's now we're doing this with immigration. They've got a government contract to do this, and there are complaints about the treatment of the people.
Conditions.
Okay. All right. So, and those complaints are coming from the people inside there being fed to their relatives, and that's how we're hearing about it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And they've also been prevented from meeting with their attorneys, all the same things that we've kind of seen, they haven't been able to be processed legally, the right ways. The healthcare, the food, I mentioned those things, the forced labor situation. So these detainees were being forced to work in and around the detention center for $1 a day as in payment for that. And this is supposed to be under federal law. This is supposed to be a voluntary work program. You're not supposed to have to participate in this work program. Again, reminded, these are not criminals. They weren't convicted of a violent crime. These are people who are just simply being held there until they're supposed to be processed through deportation.
All right, so now let's stop right there. They're not criminals, so they're not breaking any laws, right? Because if you're breaking a law, you're a criminal. So they're not breaking any laws.
Right. Not violent criminal offenders. These are detainees. Okay. Now,
but they are here, probably most of them under sketchy situations.
Maybe that we know of. I mean, this is very similar to what we saw in Minneapolis. So these are people, they've been ripped off the streets. These are people that were waiting in line for their naturalization hearings and things, being taken out of line, all the things that we know that has been happening routinely throughout. Certainly, we can absolutely agree that there are probably some people here that are here in the country without proper documentation. But also, we don't know how many people those are versus how many people who'd already started the process and have been, maliciously detained, right? But the voluntary work program, they are issuing throughout the entire detention center as a forced work program. And then when the people said, well, I don't want to do this, or maybe we're, elderly or sickly and couldn't necessarily perform the labor tasks that they were being asked to do, those people were being put in solitary confinement. So, a lot of seemingly, very harsh conditions for these people. So Andy Kim went over there at the beginning of the week in order to investigate this. And we had been told over and over again by the government that anytime any government officials want to come and look at these things, they're welcome to come. Well, Andy Kim went in and witnessed these conditions for himself. Also,
wait, hold on. I'm just going through videos, and for some reason I'm playing a video that is certainly not from where New Jersey. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, as you're telling, I'm showing videos.
Okay. And he did witness these things and then reached out to Mickey Sherrill, who is the governor of New Jersey.
I thought it was Mikey. Is it Mickey or Mikey? I thought it was Mikey.
I think Mickey, but if it's Mikey, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, it's Mikey.
So she attempted to enter the facility to look for herself and was denied entrance. Okay. So then that, of course, sent up huge red flags. And Andy Kim tried to go back several more times. And then in the meantime, there was a protest that started. And of course, like most protests, it started peacefully. During this initial peaceful protesting, Andy Kim himself was pepper sprayed. And Mikey Sherrill then sent over state and local law enforcement, which at that time everybody thought that they were going to be there in order to protect the protesters, but they aligned on the side of the ICE protesters. And then
all right, hold on. Let's give a listen to what Mikey Sherrill had to say here.
Federal immigration officers would back down.
We've seen what has happened with ICE across the country. I won't let that unfold here. Having worked with New Jersey State Police and local law enforcement, I know how well trained they are, the best in the nation. I trust them to follow our Constitution.
All right, there you go. That's Mikey Sherrill.
Right. So she's saying that she trusts the ICE, the federal law enforcement that's in charge of this, to do the right thing. Unfortunately, they're not doing the right thing. And so over the last several days, this has now exploded into a very violent, protest. Lots of pepper spraying. There was a video that was going around, I want to say maybe Friday evening, where not an ICE agent, but actually a state trooper was seen pepper spraying into a crowd of people who were there protesting, and physically attacking one of the protesters. And then when the protester responded, they used one of those shields and pushed the guy underneath the wheels of a moving 18-wheeler. In addition, of course, now we've seen multiple agitators and counter protesters show up. The Proud Boys have shown up. Jake Lang is out there doing what Jake Lang does. And then most notably, there was a right-wing instigator by the name of Cam Higby, and he went over there this past weekend, and he was assaulting protesters, pepper spraying into them, and almost got his ass kicked. But so it's really become quite an issue over there.
Here we've actually got that. Here is the person she just mentioned. What's his name?
Cam Higby.
Cam Higby. Why do you know his name? See, that's telling. These are moths.
Quite frankly, I don't follow Cam Higby, and I didn't know who he was either until he showed up at this protest.
And then
famous. I thought,
look at this.
And then I said, well, I need to figure out who this is. And he's a low-level right-wing agitator, but clearly he went there for clout.
Sure.
And obviously we know who Jake Lang is, because Jake Lang has been doing this now for many years, starting at J6. Now this guy is,
All right, let's watch this video. Looks like he's got toilet paper to his shoe. No, he doesn't. Okay, so this is the Cam Higby right-wing clout farmer. He's out there. This is him spraying a crowd with, I don't know, bear spray, something.
Dude, it's not worth it. No, we gotta go. Time to go.
Okay, so a citizen just assaulted a bunch of other citizens. That's just what happened here. This guy just sprayed a bunch of citizens in the face with a chemical for no reason, taking it upon himself to get involved, and he's being allowed to just walk away. I got a problem with that. I got a real problem with that.
It's a big problem now. The petty part of me, so the guy that was saying it's not worth it, that's
not petty.
Private security.
This is failing to enforce the law equally among both people. This guy should be arrested. He just pulled out mace or something and sprayed people. You can't do that.
Did. But the petty part of me is coming up, because if you watch him, he goes and he hides behind one of these.
Well, that's what we're watching right now. Hold on, let's watch. All right, so he's now being chased around an ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Quite frankly, now, again, I don't know who this guy is that is crouching with him on the side of the car, but
that's his private security.
Oh, that's his private security.
Pause it right there. If you look at that really closely, he's hitting his asthma inhaler. So he has asthma. He went and sprayed pepper spray on a bunch of people, and now he's got to go hit his asthma inhaler.
That's funny. All right, so right now, there shouldn't be anybody around him. He should be in handcuffs. He should be secured for his own safety, and because of the crime he just committed in assaulting another citizen, he should be in the back of a police car. This is the common sense approach to this. I'm not saying what he did I'm saying what he did was illegal. He assaulted. So why are the police not putting this kid in handcuffs? It's insane to me.
Yeah, no, agreed. This guy, he needs to be arrested. I
One more
mean,
time.
that is
Wait,
assault.
let's watch it again. This is a private citizen assaulting other private citizens. What side of a toxic issue doesn't come into play here? The police need to protect citizens from each other. This guy should be cop pulled him
Not worth
away.
it. Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it.
Wait, I don't know if that's a cop that pulled him away. I don't even see any cops around here. So
No,
maybe...
that's his private security.
No, we gotta go.
Pulling him away.
Oh, all right. So you know what? Now I got to leave the cops away. I thought that those were cops that pulled him away and said, "Get out of here," instead of arresting him.
Time to go.
So he's low level, but he's got an entire phalanx of private security. What is going on?
I mean,
Somebody's
about to say,
funding
like,
him.
He saw what those protesters did to Jake Lang in Minneapolis. Like he came prepared. He brought his asthma inhaler and his private security.
Okay, how does he afford private security? He's being backed. All of these little moths, these clout moths, they're all being backed by somebody with ties to, like, we've heard it all, the Koch brothers or whatever, the people who fund this kind of mayhem so that we stay at each other's throats. This kid is out here with private security, an entire wing of private security, as best I can tell, at least 4. Those people aren't here for free. Who's fucking paying this kid? And we both agree we've never heard of him before, and you described him as low level. Yet, this plane tickets, hotel rooms, is he from here? This is...
No, he's not from there. It's not a matter of convenience, like, oh, this is going on in my backyard, so why not go and show up? No, he got paid to go over there. Or
we are being pitted against each other by forces that we're not recognizing, is my point.
Yeah, no, agreed. But yeah, so this is still going on. The state of New Jersey has implemented some curfews that to take effect. So, people are dispersing in the evening, but then they are showing up the next day. There hasn't been any resolutions to any of the inquiries that have been made. The inside detainees have now made a list of demands to state government.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop you here, because as you've been talking, we are watching the rest of that video of this Cam Higbee guy. He was brought right inside the gates, welcomed by the ICE people after... This is a bad look. This video is terrible.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me just finish watching the rest of it here, because he's now been taken inside. Now here come the ICE guys. The ICE guys in their full, like, battle gear with their pepper ball guns out or whatever, and they are surrounding him and taking care of him instead of arresting him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there it is. All right, we're done with that. Wow. Yeah, that's triggering to me. And
it's definitely not good. The detainees have made a list of demands. One of their top things that they've asked for is the opportunity to meet with the governor of New Jersey, which I think is extremely reasonable. She should be allowed to go in there. She is the governor of that state, and this facility is located inside of her state. It is also not a government-owned facility. It is a private private corporation. And I hate to point out the fact that the government contract that this particular entity is getting is for $1 billion. So, I mean,
it's all about, we are capitalists here. We find our biggest societal problems and we figure out a way to build an industry around it. We've always done that.
Yeah. So, and you're right. I think it's really interesting to hear it from your side, because I was extremely surprised to hear that right-wing news, or let me rephrase that legacy news, because I think that, whatever that is, but that you weren't seeing any coverage on this except for on MS Now.
Yeah, I had to go to MS Now to see any kind of, to see this story being treated like a big story. MS Now was doing wire-to-wire coverage of it all weekend long, whereas the other news networks were not.
Yeah. Meantime, they were absolutely covering the idea that, these musicians, celebrities, if you want to classify them that, mostly, as you and I discussed last week, were C and D level acts. They were very upset about that. They were very upset. They are very upset about Tallarico in Texas and
Well,
and speculating on whether he's transitioning
but
or
are we
gay
but are
or
we asking why? Well, I've already said that. These are stupid people issues. We relate to stupid people issues. That's the Tallarico versus Paxton thing is easy because it's one side against the other. That's a sporting event. We love to fucking argue with each other over sports, so that one's down. What was the other one that you just mentioned? The concert that was canceled.
yeah.
We all get that. That's entertainment. We can all
Yeah.
feel like experts when offering opinions on that.
Sure, the ballroom is important. The MMA fight or whatever that's going to
Right.
happen in front of the White House.
We
All
get
that's
that.
important.
What we don't get is the Iran negotiation and the 11 points and all that. That's way too complicated for us. So we are going to be distracted and argue for weeks at a time over this stupid 250th picnic lineup. That's what we can sink our teeth into. All the other stuff, the important shit, the immigration debate, show us videos of people, yelling at each other. That'll pacify us. We don't understand it. It's too complicated. The shit we understand is the stupid stuff, and that's what occupies most of
Well,
our
and I think
time.
that furthermore, we saw what happened in Minneapolis at the end of last year, and we can all agree that I think that they're understand that that's not a good look. And now we're worried about a midterm in November. So, it's pretty telling that as you pointed out, and to many people and your listeners, that with your experience in how media works, that you get a list of talking points, and it's obvious that this is not hitting their talking points, therefore they're not covering it, and yet we do
Well, but
see
it's at the
this.
top of the list of the left talking points because MSNBC is doing nothing but covering it. See, I
Yeah.
mean, this, but it is a decision, right? I mean, every newsroom in America, whether it's your local paper or CNN, there is a meeting every day, an editorial meeting where people, usually about 5 or 6 of them, decide what we think is important. That's the broken system. That's been happening forever. So MSNBC's editorial meeting decided that this was the most important story that Americans needed to know about, and everybody else decided that it wasn't. I don't know why. You can be suspicious and say, well, it's because they don't want it. I don't know. I think that there are certain people, editors, in these rooms who decided that that is just not a story that is resonating with the American public. Maybe they thought, well, we've already gone through Minneapolis. Is that right to look at the dissemination of information in such a commercial way, commercially crass? I don't know, but it's how it's done. We got a broken system. So I don't know what the most important story in the world is. All we can do is individually say, this is the most important story in the world to me. The days of Walter Cronkite laying it out for us, those are long gone. So I have no idea if this is a big story or not. It's just
Yeah.
another story. It's just, and MSNBC decided to cover it as if it was the biggest story, and CNN decided to completely ignore it like it wasn't even happening. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, as it usually
Yeah.
is.
No, I mean, and I agree with that. Like I said, I'm not suggesting that this is the biggest story. I mean, there's certainly been bigger stories, and I think that a matter of global politics is probably a much larger story if we're going to discuss it in comparison to the war. But what I would say is that I don't think it's something that we shouldn't be aware of, and it brings up many questions, because if it's just that this detention facility is getting this level of attention, but we know that these detention facilities exist all across our country. I mean, there's a large one not very far from where I live in Basile, and we've all heard stories about Alligator Alcatraz. In fact, they completely shut down that facility because of the conditions that were going on inside of it. So I think that it is.
Okay, stop. They did completely shut down the facility. You say it's because of the conditions going on inside of it. There are probably other reasons. I've read a few of them. So, I mean, that is your side projecting why they shut it down. That is not the official reason Alligator Alcatraz was shut down in Florida.
Okay. Well, I didn't look into that any further than, okay, they shut that thing
Right,
down.
because that's your bubble, that's your side. Hold on, let me address what Frank is saying here. Frank is saying in the chat room, and Frank is definitely far away from me, even further away from you, Maddie. Frank says, you are saying the rioting people are Little Red Riding Hood and angels, and the big bad right wingers and police are attacking them. So let me just say that I think that a lot of these people now that are showing up to these things are outside agitators. I think they are there. I think the people in Minnesota that were protecting their blocks, I think for the most part, those were legitimate people from that community. But I don't know about this crowd here in New Jersey. I don't know why this one seems to have flared up. You mentioned that there are many other across the country. Is it a location to New York City? Easy to get people who are already active in these things into a New Jersey facility? I don't know. But
No,
do you
no.
honestly think that all of the people that are there rioting aren't also there for their own reasons of clout or to agitate? Do you think they're all, as Frank accuses you, do you think they're all Little Red Riding Hoods and angels?
No, and I don't think that I said that. What I said is that the people on the inside made contact with their friends and family and brought to their attention concerns of their conditions on the inside. Government officials attempted to enter the facility and were denied access. And I think that originally the protesters that were there were protesting for the representation of the information that they knew that was going on. I agree also that there are certainly people who are going to attach themselves to this problem in an effort to shift the narrative or for clout forming or from any other thing. I'm not here to defend the people who are there to cause problems for the sake of causing problems. What I am here to defend are people who are there doing the right thing, who are there to protest things that they have intimate information on and want to see change and want to advocate for people who are in there experiencing these specific conditions. Now, Frank also accused me of saying, is Maddie saying, and he loves to start every fucking conversation with, does Maddie think? No, Maddie doesn't think it's okay to attack law enforcement. Maddie doesn't think it's okay to attack state troopers or local federal police officers.
Yeah,
but
wait, stop. Right. Yeah, right. I mean, what the fuck, Frank? Why are you making that jump? There's nothing in between. It's like if you have a problem with overly aggressive law enforcement, then you must be on the side of putting a bullet in cops' heads. What the fuck is wrong with you, Frank? That's a bit
Law
extreme.
enforcement has been shooting these
Nuance,
protesters
pal.
with rubber bullets and
Right.
dousing them with pepper spray. Now, if somebody goes up and assaults a cop, do I think that they get what they get? You're absolutely right. But do I think some normal average Americans who are standing there and shouting their shouts and holding up their signs deserve to be assaulted too? No, I don't.
Well, I'll tell
No,
you
I
this.
don't.
I'll tell you this. Frank thinks the Capitol police officers on January 6th got what they deserved. So, Frank is pretty fluid on these things about, All right, Maddie, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for putting this on my. Now, wait, let me ask you this. So when does this stop being the most important story? When MSNBC pulls their cameras up and stops covering it for a couple of days? Or how does this end? Does it end when they just decide that they're going to close this place down and you win protest? I mean, you know what I mean? What are they looking for?
No, I mean, I think that in my mind, if the detainees have made a list of demands that seem very reasonable to me, like I said, starting with the ability of the governor of that state to go in and inspect these things for herself and make some sort of a determination, I'm willing to agree with some reasonable,
Okay. All right, let's stop right there. So one of the things is that Mikey Sherrill is not being allowed to go inside this federal facility, right?
Correct.
That's okay. So because of that, all of this started. So now we can see that this has become a thing. So why don't we just go, let the fucking governor in? Why don't they just back up?
Why can't she go in?
Right. They should just let the governor of the state go in, because look at the problem not letting her in has caused. We can satiate to some degree, I think, maybe some of the complaints here. Just let the Democratic governor go on in and then, deal with that.
Like I said, obviously, in anybody's mind who maybe isn't inside or doesn't know anything, when you're not allowing the governor of their own state go in and inspect this facility,
It's a little
which is a
shady.
mandate, yeah, it seems as though something is being hidden. If something is not being hidden, let her go see. Let her come out and say, look, I got to go in myself. I got to talk to people who were in there, and I'm not getting the same story that you guys are being fed. Okay, then let's talk about that too. Or I got to go in myself and talk to these people, and they're absolutely right. Their health, their safety, their nutrition, whatever is definitely a problem here. And I'm going to continue to, I'm going to create a task force or whatever needs to happen here. But the idea that the people who are in charge, quote unquote, of this state are being prohibited from accessing this facility certainly does look suspicious.
All right. Now there's the whole issue. States' rights, federal rights. The federal facility is in the state too. It's all that. Anyway, we'll never make everybody happy. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today and explaining the New Jersey immigration protests. We'll talk to you in a couple of days and we'll find out what's happening in your world then, okay?
Yeah, we'll see if this is still going on, because it doesn't seem like these protesters are ready to leave just yet.
You sound so disappointed in me. You just sound so disappointed. Like, I don't know. I just always let Maddie down. I don't know what to tell you. All right, we'll be back. Bye, Maddie.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
There she goes. That's Maddie. All right, leave Maddie alone. Maddie's smart. Maddie's got opinions. You may not agree with her opinions. Oh, I don't agree with all of her opinions. I don't agree with all your opinions. I agree with my own opinions. That's pretty much all I got. All right, let's keep going. What else do we have to talk about today? Let's see. What do I want to jump into here? All right, now I'll do the FCC situation. So the FCC is asking television. Remember the television rating system? Are you guys old enough to remember before TV had a rating system? TV just all of a sudden, like at some point in the 1990s, every TV show had TV mature, or I don't even know what they are. We've become so accustomed to just not paying attention to them. Anyway, they want to update them. We've seen everything from graphic, partial nudity, smoking. We've seen smoking. Warning, people, smoking, flashing lights. I like the flashing lights. Because they warning, this show contains flashing lights for like the 15 people out of the billions on the planet that are going to be affected by that. Ugh, why? Because one of those people might sue, and they need deniability. So they always have these things. The FCC now wants to add a transgender content warning to the television shows. Here's it says the FCC is considering new content ratings for TV shows that depict or discuss gender identity. Okay, that's a slippery slope. Depict or discuss gender identity. Doing so would be well outside the FCC's legal authority, and some free speech organizations warn that such a request could constitute a violation of the First Amendment. At the direction of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, broadcasters developed content ratings for TV shows. 1996. I said mid-90s. Let's see here. The TV ratings span TVY, which is appropriate for all children, TV mature for mature audiences only, plus more specific content labels for suggestive dialogue, bad language, sexual content, and violence. And smoking. I've seen smoking and flashing lights. They also established the TV Parental Guidelines Oversight Monitoring Board. Stupid. The government now suggests those warnings back from 1996 are no longer sufficient. Here's a quote. Recently, parents have raised concerns that controversial gender identity issues are being included or promoted in children's programs without providing any disclosure or transparency to parents. Okay, let's take that first of all. Here is apparently what some parents, it's being described as parents, so you would think, oh, all parents have this concern. No, not all parents. Some parents have recently raised concerns that controversial gender identity issues are being included or promoted in children's programs. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't watch a lot of children's programs, but I think that children's programs have to have some sort of tethering to the real world. I don't look, the first group of minorities that I really liked lived on Sesame Street. I was a white kid. I lived in an all-white neighborhood. I was a white kid. I would watch Sesame Street, and I met people named Juan, and I met black kids with afros and little Asian girls. I mean, I think honestly that kind of programming at an early age to accept. Now, I don't know how well represented minorities were elsewhere on TV in, say, 1974, 1975. I know we had the Jeffersons and we had Good Times, but those were decidedly black shows. They're like, we've got 2 black shows. Everything else was a white show. And we got 2 black shows. So I'm just trying to think this through. I mean, now we don't have black shows and white shows anymore, do we? Wasn't like the WB or something the last attempt at that? The network that just put on endless like variations of Moesha. And it was like, this is black TV. But now like every normal TV show that any normal person wants has just as many black characters as it does white characters. Or am I wrong? I don't know. All right. So anyway, recently parents have raised concerns that controversial gender identity issues are being included or promoted in children's programmings. And I just used the example of, well, they, acceptance and, diversity and all that shit was given to us on Sesame Street. I don't know that my mom had a problem with it. So now we live in a time where we have this new thing. And honestly, it's the very same people who are complaining that it's now being discussed, who are the very same people who wouldn't shut up about it and turned it into a normal conversation. Like the whole trans thing, that was just happening. And like nobody was saying anything about it until a whole bunch of people on the right started to get super freaked out about it. And now the trans thing is only such a huge deal because there's a group of people on the right who are freaked out by it. Now, look, there's some reasonable conversations to be made because people on the left say a lot of stupid shit all the time. And, the whole gender thing, I don't want to get into that again. But the acceptance of citizens who are with their own free will deciding that this is who they are, we have to accept that. So if children's television wants to reflect society for children who are growing up in that society, I would see, I can understand why there would be some discussion of that. I don't believe, when you hear about it in schools, you hear on the right, like a lot of people, they're teaching 2-year-olds about, no, they're not. They're teaching second graders, but no, they're not. What they have is a book in the school library that, it's a little bit challenging, for my sensibility. Does a kid really need to know about why daddy has a vagina? What is... Again, I think that if we're all just nice to each other, I know that's such a pie in the sky bullshit way of looking at it. But okay, so trans is a thing that's happening on TV. The FCC now wants to have a trans content label. I don't have a problem with it. You know why I don't have a problem with it? Because I don't have a problem with any of the other labels that they put up with. I just ignore them, and so do you. Recently, parents have raised concerns that controversial gender identity issues are being included or promoted in children's programs without providing any disclosure or transparency to parents. Okay, parents, what do you want? You want an email from all the networks of the shows? What is this, an algorithm thing? Are they going to figure out what shows your kids are watching and you're going to get a full schedule breakdown of what the episodes for the coming week are about? That is not realistic. But there are some weirdo parents who are totally freaked out about this issue. And so they've written letters now, and the FCC is responding because we've got a federal government that responds to the weirdos' complaints. And all I'm saying is they're just going to add it to the whole TV warning, mature trans content, and it's not going to affect you in any way, and just let it go. Who cares? They'll stop it. In a couple of years, they'll stop it. They'll pull it down, and it'll be an embarrassing moment from the Trump era where we did a whole bunch of fucking embarrassing things. Although I don't know, right? So I'm figuring this out on the fly. Is it embarrassing? I mean, isn't that a right if you are a parent who chooses to not believe in that whole thing? Are your concerns about what your child is being exposed to when they watch ABC primetime valid? Yeah, I guess they are. It's just everything. Smoking, I always thought was funny. Warning, smoking. Like, bitch, I grew up in the 80s. Every moment of my life was in a cloud of cigarette smoke. Now you're warning me that somebody on TV is going to be smoking? It's weird. Let's see here. Per public notice, the FCC filed back in April, specifically the industry guidelines that parents rely on. Hold on. What does it say? The industry guidelines that parents rely on are rating shows with transgender and gender non-binary programming as appropriate for children and young children, and doing so without providing this information to parents, thereby undermining the ability of parents to make informed choices for their families. So the FCC is saying that these creators of children's programming are inserting these subjects into their kids' programs, and the parents don't know. Well, maybe the parents shouldn't be as lazy as they have been and start pre-screening all the shit your kid watches. But you won't do that because that's fucking hard. And that's going to cut into your Hannity time. So you're just going to stick your kid in a room with a TV and then react after the fact. You can monitor everything that your child ingests, but we don't want to because that's really hard. All right. Let's see. As a result, it continued. Here's the FCC. Quote, we seek comment here on any changes that can or should be made to the current rating system to ensure that it is responsive to the issues that parents confront today. How are they dealing? Like, is it just inclusivity stuff? Like, if it's just inclusivity, it's like, hey, it's Juan. Hey, it's Lisa. Hey, it's Chris. I don't know. Are they just, because there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just including and being nice to people. Or is it like our kids I don't know what kids are being taught. Why would I watch kids programming? I got a 17-year-old. It's hard enough having a 17-year-old boy. But I wouldn't be worried about it. I always talked with my kids. My kid. I don't know. It's all very lazy. And again, the federal government with just overreacting, trying to placate the worst instincts of a very small group of people. Is this a real problem? Like, are parents from coast to coast really upset about this? Or is this just, the far right? I'm not seeing it. I have to say, when I lived in Dallas just a couple of months ago, and we were in the design district, I saw on a regular basis two people who were transitioning. One person worked in the design district. I used to see him from time to time. And the other person worked at the Kroger that I used to always go to. And that was it. It was an everyday thing. It's like, oh, there they are. I'm still noticing it because we're still fairly early into the age where now we are accepting of this. So I do, there's another one. There's another one. Okay, everything's fine. I moved back here to Chicago. I haven't seen a trans person in 9 months. Now, I know I'm on the south side of Chicago and all that, but I just don't believe the trans issue is as big an issue as it's being made out to be. I don't see it. I asked my kid last year, maybe it was longer than that. I said, are there any trans kids in your grades? He was like, no. Now, if you watch TV, you think that every kid's got like 5 trans kids in their grade in school, and it's just not true. I don't know. However, we have to be inclusive. We have to be, accepting. We can't be mean to people. The FCC's notice is so vague on this issue that it is quite impossible to determine what programming would actually trigger the kind of labeling the agency appears to be contemplating. So again, that's the problem with this. The FCC, they're not really explaining what it is that would trigger getting a trans warning on the show. How slight of a trigger is it, right? Is there a full-blown character? Okay, is full-blown character going to be presenting their worldview, and this is a concern to some of the moms out there, so there you have it. Just because I disagree that the moms shouldn't be concerned about this doesn't mean that they're not concerned and that their concerns are worthy of being addressed by a government that purports to represent all people. So whatever. Again, the left is freaking out about this. I don't know if the right is doing any kind of an end zone dance. I don't think they are. But, people are triggered by the idea that the FCC is going to slap another warning on. And I say, get over yourself. And I've never been a really big fan of the FCC, although I have had dealings with them. Never been fined. Very proud of that. We got a warning. We got warned once, but never a fine. Never a fine. All right, let's see here. What else do we want to talk about? We were going to do the Chicago Bears thing, but honestly, I don't have the juice to do that. It's a political argument, and I don't really want to do that today. It's not political by partisan politics. It's more of just looking at how messed up everybody is involved. So I don't want to do that. Guys, I'm starting to lose my voice too. Oh my God, what is happening here? And I'm scattered. This is not a good show today, guys. I am so sorry. This is not a great show. All right, let's see what Frank says. Frank says, bring back cigarettes. Gen Z needs to chill with friends and cigarettes. It's another great idea, Frank. We don't need to bring back cigarettes. It's gross. Smoke. Everything smelled so bad when everybody smoked. Remember, we just put up with shit. That was so sick. Be like a little kid in a car with 3 adults and they're just chain smoking for the entire car ride and the windows are up because the air conditioning's on. So it's just cold, gross smoke. They had to know that wasn't good, right? They had to be like, this probably isn't good. Fuck it, though. This is what we do in 1974. I don't know. Let's see what provocative thing Barney's saying. Barney says, if Doc McStuffins is going to be doing gender surgery, I would have liked a heads up when I had little kids. Fuck is this? Pugs, you okay? What the fuck's that mean, Frank? I have to ask, yeah. All right, let's see here. What else we want to talk about? Oh, here's a fun story. Okay, so this is a fun story. All right, so there were a couple of situations over the weekend within our skies. We had a plane that was flying from Chicago to Minneapolis that had to land in Madison, Wisconsin, because some 75-year-old Russian dude with dementia started screaming, and he charged the flight deck and all that stuff. All right, so that was one thing. We've actually got some audio from that, but it's not particularly great audio, so we won't waste any time. But then there's this story that happened, I guess, last night out in New York. A plane had to turn around. It was on its way from New York City to, I think, Rio de Janeiro or something, and it had to turn around because of some stupid 16-year-old kid. I swear to God, this is such a 16-year-old boy thing to do. Stupid. Here's the story. United Airlines flight has turned around over the... hold on a second. Sorry, I lost my place. United Airlines flight turned around over Atlantic as boy named his Bluetooth device Bomb. Okay. All right. You know how, like, when you're hooking up your Bluetooth, right, and you put available networks or whatever, and then you see a list of all of the other available networks that are around you? Well, there was a kid on a plane who had his Bluetooth connection listed as Bomb. And so when he opened his phone on the airplane, anybody else who was on their Bluetooth saw that this Bomb was there. That started the stewardesses to freak out. That caused the pilots to freak. Anyway, crazy chain of events. Here's how it went down. United Airlines flight UA236, a Boeing 767-400ER. I'm not a plane geek. Departed Newark Liberty International Airport last night, or Saturday night, I should say, heading for Palma de Mallorca, Spain. What did I say? Rio? So I don't really make much of a distinction. Both faraway places, hot women. However, roughly an hour and a half into the transatlantic journey, a routine flight dissolved into confusion for the passengers on board. According to passengers sharing their experience, flight attendants suddenly took to the PA system with an urgent command. The command: all passengers were ordered to turn off their Bluetooth connections immediately. Apparently they were I'd love to hear audio of that, but apparently we don't have it. The crew then issued multiple increasingly tense announcements. Imagine this: you're in an airplane, it's night, you're flying all the way to Spain, you're an hour and a half in, an hour and a half. You're figuring like, okay, we're too late to turn back now. They're an hour and a half in. The crew issued multiple increasingly tense announcements stating that the directive came straight from United's corporate headquarters in Chicago. Crew members warned that if the active Bluetooth signals were not disabled, the plane would be forced to turn around and head back to Newark. They repeated the instructions. This comes to us from some witnesses who were there. They repeated the instructions multiple times, eventually giving a final 1-minute warning, said one passenger. They said an individual had done something with Bluetooth that is threatening the safety of the flight. Despite the warnings, at least 2 active Bluetooth devices on the plane remained on. That's old people who don't know how to turn it off, right? Like, okay, so let's say there's like 80 people. I don't know, 100 people. It's okay, round number, 100 people. So 100 people on this plane going to Spain, and they're like, all right, everybody, we need you to pull your phone out and turn your Bluetooth off. Out of 100 people, you think 100 would know how to do that? Look, I'm sure that there were people who didn't know how to do it, who then leaned over to a seatmate and went, I don't know how. Do you know how to turn? And then they did it for them. I think that the 2 people that refused to turn their Bluetooth off were the 2 antisocial old people who don't know how to turn the Bluetooth off and don't want to talk to any strangers about it. They just figured, this is probably nothing. But because 2 people refused to turn it off, the plane turned around and went back to Newark. And again, I think maybe there should have been an announcement. Is there anyone on board who doesn't know how to turn your Bluetooth off? We'll come around and we'll help you. Just last announcement. I know we did a whole 1-minute countdown threatening you people that if you didn't turn it off in a minute, but if there's anybody here, because I imagine that's what happened. The panic subsided into frustration once the true nature of the threat came to light. The emergency wasn't sparked by a technical glitch or a cyber attack, but rather an incredibly reckless prank. Audio archives from the Newark Ramp and Company. I don't know what that is. Is that like a fire department? I don't know what. Later confirmed that a passenger, reported to be a 16-year-old boy, had customized the discoverable network name of his personal Bluetooth speaker to read "bum." Because Bluetooth signals broadcast to any nearby smartphone or laptop looking to pair, the name popped up on the screens of passengers and crew members inside the cabin, instantly triggering a standard bomb threat protocol. Bit of an overreaction. I mean, I get how right in retrospect overreaction, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to take these things seriously. This is the world we live in. The aircraft landed safely back at Newark because there was nothing wrong. The airport landed safely back at Newark, where it was met by a massive law enforcement presence. Passengers were deplaned with only the passengers were deplaned with only their passports and phones loaded onto the buses. Oh, okay. So they didn't bring their bags. So all their bags and shit were left behind. So I thought that was like they took their passports and phones, but they didn't. The passengers were deplaned with only their passports and phones loaded onto buses and driven around the tarmac for roughly an hour while security personnel secured the gate. To ensure the offending device hadn't been discarded or passed off, all passengers were required to clear TSA airport security for a second time. Oh, fun. United Airlines has not released an official statement regarding... Okay, so this is just, again, a 16-year-old boy. Who would think your flight... This is something that I could see happening with my kid. Like, what do you mean your Bluetooth is labeled, I'm going to kill everybody on this plane? Why would you do that? What? That is just something that a kid does. Oh, the poor kid. Furious. The parents probably furious, humiliated. Oh, that kid, I don't know what kind of discipline or trouble but there's something that kid's getting. He's getting his, what do you do? What do you take away from the kid? He's getting his Internet. He's getting the internet taken away from him. That's for damn sure. Anyway, it's a shame that we have to behave that way, but we do. All right, what else do I want to talk about here? Okay, yeah, I want to mention this before we get into a couple of videos that we're going to watch. So over the weekend, I watched a lot of baseball. I finished Game of Thrones. I gotta say, I don't know what the hell the problem with the final season was. The final season was great. I will say this: the final two episodes were. It seems like the time of the final season of Game of Thrones was mismanaged because all questions were answered at the end of season 5 or episode 5. And then there was episode 6 and 7, which was just like, yeah, we didn't need any of this. But man, episode 5 of Game of Thrones, The Bells, that might be one of the greatest single episodes of TV I ever saw. That's the culmination of, the entire series, the battle at the steps of King's Landing. That was incredible, man. All right, so I watched that, but also, so there's been a story that I've been kind of paying attention to for a couple of years now. I talked about it on the rant when it first happened, and we talked about it for a couple of days, and then it went away, and now it's back. Well, it's back because now there's documentaries. It was adjudicated, the person went to jail and all that kind of stuff, but now it's back because there's a slew of documentaries concerning this shocking case. And I want to talk about it a little bit because over the weekend on Netflix, I watched the, what is it? Mackenzie Shirilla. Do you know who this Mackenzie Shirilla girl is? Do you remember her? She's in prison for like the rest of her life. She is like the chick in Ohio who killed her boyfriend and one of their best buddies by driving her car into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour. She survived, but her boyfriend broke. This is the most shocking. Well, look, it is such a good it is an hour and a half movie. It's not one of these true crime series where it's 4 episodes. It's just an hour and a half. And like I said, I remember when she was sentenced. She was sentenced like a year ago or 2 years ago. Anyway, I thought it was all done. But now this new documentary is out on Netflix. And it is just, I didn't have any doubts. Like, I pretty much figured I knew what happened. She murdered her boyfriend and her friend. And now I don't know that she intended to kill herself. I don't know if she thought that she would survive. I don't know. But I do know that she specifically drove a car 100 miles an hour into a wall because her boyfriend, Dom, was about to break up with her. We know that. That's why she was convicted. That's why she's in jail for the rest of her life. She's a fucking psycho. But holy shit, I have never seen this much. I didn't know all of this about Mackenzie Shirilla. I knew what I was reading in the newspapers, and I don't watch like Inside Edition or listen to true crime podcasts. So I didn't really have this fully fleshed out idea of who this girl is. This girl is a monster. And I'm watching this and I'm wondering, she is not even a particularly unique monster. This girl seems to be like every girl on Instagram. And one of my comments about this Mackenzie Shirilla girl, and again, it's on Netflix, and if you're unfamiliar with it, it's an hour and a half documentary about this girl who killed her boyfriend and friend because he was going to break up with her. Anyway, very nutshell-y kind of version of it. But I had no idea who this girl was. This girl is the end result of an entire generation raised on Instagram by Kardashians. Just absolutely broken as far as somebody who is able to navigate the real world. Everything about her was image. Everything about her was, anyway, it's fascinating. And I just wanted to mention that because I didn't think I was going to like it. I was like, oh yeah, what's this about? And I started watching it and I was riveted for an hour and a half. It is called, what's it called? I don't know. It's a Mackenzie Shirilla documentary. It's new on Netflix, and I watched it this weekend, and I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that. All right, let's see here. What else? Should we do 3 videos? All right, let's do 3 videos. There we go. This is where I find 3 videos that, I just want to comment on, and we watch them together. Here we go. This first one comes to us. I think this is in England. Boy, this is a thing. How is this a thing? Well, I know how this is a thing because men are the worst. Look, women are the worst too. Mackenzie Shirilla, she might be one of the worst examples of Gen Z I've ever seen. She's terrible, but men are also bad. All right, here, this comes to us again. This is a dude. All right, so apparently this is a mall in England, and they're inside, like, what do they have? Unisex changing rooms? Don't they have men and women's changing rooms? So this guy is like taking pictures of young girls, little girls. I don't know. Look, anybody under 30, it's basically a little girl to me now. But he's like taking pictures, and he gets called out, and he slinks off. You know, he's all. Anyway, I just want you to watch this because I've got some comments on this guy. Again, a guy being called out for taking creeper shots inside a changing room at an English mall.
Show us your phone, you've got nothing to hide. You dirty pervert. Show us your phone, show us your phone, you've got nothing to hide. You dirty pervert.
Here he comes, all right. All right, so this is him right here. Look at all of these girls. They're filming him. He's like not even good at it.
Excuse me. You've just been taken photos of her.
All right, so here, this is just what I want to point out about this. This is such a weird thing. It's such a weird hobby. Like somebody's like, I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to risk my entire standing in the community, my family. I'm going to just I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to try and get some upskirt pictures of little girls while they change at the mall dressing room. I would think there would be bigger signs as to somebody was capable. Look at this guy. This guy looks like a suburban dad. This guy does not look like. I just want people to look more like the obvious monsters that they are. This is such a fucked up thing. This is such a weird, and it's, well, let's watch.
Really? Yes, you have. Excuse me.
He's just like a normal guy.
You've just been taken photos of her.
Really?
Yes, you have. And we've got videos of you doing it. Yes, we have. Oh, the security's coming. Yeah. Excuse me.
And what is the appeal of what he's getting? He's getting pictures of what? Girls' underwear or, okay. So there's a market for that. So there are guys, I would think, who knows, but what if there are people who are turned on by that? That's why the market exists, because what this guy is doing, like blurry, grainy, out of focus, no context pictures is somehow sexually exciting to people. I mean, I know there are all kinds of things that are sexually exciting to people. Is it the criminal aspect of it? Is that what it is? Is it the thrill? Because I've heard that a lot. Like a lot of people who get caught, child pornography, which I think is an absolute insane defense. But they're like, no, it's not really that I'm into it. It's just, it's the thrill. And maybe I understand that on some level, but I don't know. I don't understand how this is like a porn genre, I guess, for lack of a better word, that people are really into, because a lot of people do this and have been doing it for years. The whole creeper thing, well, I guess back in the 40s, they used to put like mirrors on shoes, right? That was a bit 40s, 50s, 60s. Well, I used to see that, guys. I got mirrors on my shoes, and then they slide it on. It's weird.
Excuse me. Come on then. Excuse me. You're walking, you're taking a photo of her? Yes, well, the police are on their way. So I suggest you show us your phone then, if you've got nothing to hide.
I said, how do you react to this? You just gotta get the hell out of there.
Show us your phone, you've got nothing to hide. You dirty pervert.
Dirty pervert.
Show us your phone. The police are coming. Got pictures, videos of you doing it.
So, like, if a little girl was in distress, this looks like the kind of guy that you would feel comfortable. Run to that man. That man looks nice. He'll help you.
Dirty old man.
I just want our monsters to look more like monsters.
Not you, sorry.
I know we're out into the parking lot.
Oi!
Oi. All right, there he goes. That's video one. Guy taking creeper shots gets called out. Here, this one, let's go local. This is Dallas. Graduation season, all kinds of bad behavior can be found whenever you gather people together. This is a situation. Where is this? Dickey's Arena? I haven't been to Dickey's Arena. It's very nice. Dickey's Arena held a graduation ceremony And, people don't know how to behave. So let's watch how this played out. Apparently, you can't save seats at a graduation here, but somebody is attempting to save an entire row. And people are saying, you can't save seats. And this person doesn't want to hear it because this person wants to save seats.
And she's going to sit here and she's going to watch my brother graduate.
This girl is something else. This girl is going to reserve these seats because we're going to watch my brother graduate. This is like the most important thing in her immediate universe. Therefore, it's got to be the most important thing in everybody else's universe. Very important to her. She is willing to cross the line and lose her shit over this issue because, again, it's all about her, and this is very important to her.
And she's going to sit here and she's going to watch my brother graduate. I don't care. People are going to sit here.
I would love to talk to her boyfriend. Oh my God. I bet you, or ex-boyfriend or whatever. I imagine that there are stories about this girl losing her shit.
Come sit here. My aunt's going to watch my brother graduate. Come sit here. My aunt's going to watch my brother graduate.
Do people see, again, she obviously has no self-awareness. She has zero. It's just perfectly okay in this moment in her mind for her to act this way because she is feeling personally aggrieved.
I don't care. Today they are. My aunt is coming.
Okay, her aunt is coming, so it doesn't matter what the rules are. Her aunt is coming. I love this.
A service dog.
Oh, she's with a service dog. Oh, that might actually explain why she's trying to be. Maybe Aunt's got some problems and, still, this is not how.
I don't care. Today they are. My aunt is coming with a service dog.
And they can sit elsewhere.
No, they're sitting with us. This is our family.
So are we.
That's
And
right.
they
I'm so
already
sorry. I'm so sorry that they got here late. That's your fault.
Well, there we have it. They got here late. Maybe your issue is with them not getting here on time. I don't know. Does she have to walk the service dog? I don't know. God.
Sorry.
Watch your tone.
How
old are you? There's nobody in the seat.
You came over here taking everybody.
Where's the usher? And?
You hear what I'm saying?
We're here.
Exactly.
And?
You're going to tell somebody
my
that
face,
they
I know.
can't sit?
You sit down. Sit down.
All right. America the beautiful. We're all idiots. Let's see. What else do we have here? Okay, 3 videos. Nah, I don't want to do that one. I did the other one that I was getting. Never mind. All right, let's end the show here today with another example of can't beat fun at the old ballpark, right? Here you go. This comes to us. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark is a little segment we're doing at the end of every show where I show you a piece of video coming from one of our ballparks, whether it be a Little League or Major League Baseball. Maybe it's how a fan reacted to receiving a ball in the outfield. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Just fun at the old ballpark. One of the most important things about being there at a ballpark is you got to pay attention. Stay frosty, man, because, you don't want to get clocked. Look at this. Here we go. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. This dude was not paying attention. Let's see how it worked out for him. This is the college. Is this College World Series? Not sure. All right. Home run. Drives it. It's just sitting there. Look, see this guy. This guy is not paying attention to the game. You can see the home run ball right here, and you can see him. He's like, this guy's paying attention. This guy's like, yep, that ain't going to hit me. This guy, not so much. Oh.
Head on a swivel out there. Whoa.
One more time. Pay attention. It's just. Oh, jeez. Broke his glasses. Broke his sunglasses. Hope the team can pay for that. All right. Well, here's one more. I'll give you one more because I'm not an asshole. This is pretty fun. I can admit that this is pretty fun. This is a good moment for somebody that I've been rough on the last couple of weeks. PCA. That's right. What's his name? Pete Crow Armstrong of the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs haven't been doing so great since the Cubs-White Sox series last week or maybe longer. PCA went off on a fan. Remember? He was like, suck my bat. He was totally vulgar, uncalled for. Disproportionate response for sure. But he paid for it. And he went into a pretty serious tailspin for a few games where he seemed like he wasn't, all that mentally checked into what was happening. But, he's PCA. He's a good ball player. He's also, strangely enough, I saw this circulating. I was like, that can't be true. So I actually did I asked AI. And AI was like, yeah, no, he's definitely one of the most hated players in Major League Baseball. People just do not like PCA. Now, on the South side, we don't like him just because the Cubs act like he's the greatest thing in the world. But, maybe people in Milwaukee don't like him. Maybe people in St. Louis don't like him. But why wouldn't people in LA? Why would people in Ohio have a problem? I don't know. Anyway, he, for some reason, has a bit of a rough reputation right now. And every time he goes into a stadium, the fans, especially now that we've seen how he reacted to the woman at the White Sox game, have been kind of brutal to him, mocking him and making fun of him. All right. Well, just don't forget, he's still a really good baseball player, okay? And, you poke the bear at your own risk. F around and find out, I guess. The Cubs were down there in St. Louis over the weekend, their arch rival, the St. Louis Cardinals. PCA came to the plate, and, of course, the St. Louis Cardinals fans, they greeted him, as they often do, with underrated, right? This whole thing. Let's watch. Oh, you can hear him.
They got some bad intel with the overrated chant. Look at this. PCA hits it into the tarps off throw. Take that for overrated.
One more time.
They got some bad intel with the overrated chant. Look at this. PCA hits it
All
into
right.
the tarps off.
See, that's fun. That's fun. Can't be fun at the old ballpark. They're chanting underrated, and he just goes, yeah. I love that he particularly dropped it right in the tarps off section of the upper deck there in right field. Cool moment, PCA. I'll give you that. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it. One more time, I want to thank our executive producer of today's show, the man who made it all possible. That's right. He quite literally donated money on Friday, and it's what I filled my tank with. So thank you, Peter. He is today's executive producer. We are doing a soft open here for Pledge Week. So if you want to support this kind of talk radio as we move forward into the summer, please help us out. Drop a little something in either Venmo or the Cash App. It would be greatly appreciated, especially now. We're a little bit thinner than we usually are. So help out if you can. That's going to do it. We're going to come back tomorrow. We'll do more news. More news. Jeez, what am I? I'm a little scattered. I got to get out of here. I can't hold a thought today. I am just really scattered, and I don't know why. I do know this. Stay neighborly, people. That's all we got. See you tomorrow at noon.